Today we're going to discuss ATP. So maybe you've heard of the word ATP or the words ATP. It stands for adenosine triphosphate. So we have ATP. If you had AMP, that's adenosine monophosphate. We have ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate. Then we have ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. So this is the one we talk about when we're talking about energy. Well, it's actually these two, because this comes back to this. So we're working with this. But what is ATP? Okay, let's have some fun. ATP is adenosine plus a phosphate plus a phosphate plus a phosphate. So there we have 3 phosphates. Adenosine plus 3 phosphates. And when we are training, we're doing a set of bench press. In order to do those reps, we cleave away this P, we break it, and then we have A plus P, and then the P over here. And the byproduct of this cleaving away, of this tearing away, is we produce energy and heat. So, sounds like some sort of a gladiator name from, remember the Gladiator TV show? So, energy and heat is released when we tear that P away. So now we have 2 phosphates with an adenosine, and the 3rd phosphate is floating around. So when you're thinking of doing, when you're training in the gym, we are using energy and we create the byproduct of heat, which is sweat. If you're in the snow and you're cold, you want to get hot, so your byproduct is using energy, shivering, to create the heat. So they kind of it's a body's natural instinct to produce heat by using energy. That's why you sweat. If you're cold, you're going to use a lot more calories to keep yourself warm. So it's a good way to, if you're going to, you see a lot of times in the summer, especially in Australia, you get a lot of guys going for a run in the summer. The best time to go for a run is in the middle of winter, because then you're colder and your body has to use more energy to heat yourself up. Okay, so let's look at this. We have ATP, which we have our 3 phosphates. So that's A and a P and a P. And now the C is over here. Now this C, the P. The P is over here. Now in order to get that P back to here, well, we could use carbs, we could use fat, we could use lactate. But in the first, take 10 seconds of an exercise, we're using creatine. So you guys have heard of creatine monohydrate, creatine dicitrate, creatine trimalate, lots of different kinds of creatine, but essentially creatine is creatine. So we have creatine, which is then attracted to a phosphate, and they together become creatine phosphate. So CP is creatine phosphate. So when we're taking creatine, we're increasing the amount of creatine in our body. So ATP can only be resynthesized by bringing that P back. So then eventually, once that C and that P find each other, so we have a C and a P coming together, once that C and P come together, it comes back over, it's reattached. So now you have adenosine plus a phosphate plus a phosphate plus a phosphate plus a creatine molecule. So we have ATP plus a C. Now, as soon as we have that resynthesized, that C goes away, and that C goes over here, goes somewhere else, and finds another P. So this gets really interesting. If we look at our energy timeline, we have stored ATP in our body. That is about 3 seconds worth. So the first 3 seconds of a set of bench press is stored ATP. So you can take ATP in capsule form. So you can buy actually ATP that you can ingest, so you can increase the amount of ATP. But your body's going to make ATP, and it makes it very easily. First off, by having creatine. So now we know that 3 seconds of stored ATP, the first set of bench press, the first few reps, the first 1 to 3 reps is quite easy. After that, it starts to get a bit harder. That's because after that, we're starting to use creatine. So we have stored CP, and this is 10 seconds. So after the stored ATP runs out, we then start to resynthesize ATP with using creatine phosphate that's already together. Remember, we had the creatine and the phosphate have to find each other. In this first 10 seconds, they're already together. And this is why if you're taking creatine supplements, you're going to have a lot more here. So you will actually find that rep number 4 and rep number 5 become easier, because it's not like you run out of ATP very quick, because you now have CP to pick up the slack up to 10 seconds. Now, after the 10-second mark, that's when the C and the P have to come together. So the C and the P have to find each other. And this, in your energy system, in your anaerobic timeline, is up to 2 minutes. So there's up to the 2-minute mark, the creatine and the phosphate are finding each other. That's using the lactate system, and that is producing 2 ATPs. We'll get to that another time or soon. We have creatine phosphate ready to go. Then after that, the creatine and the phosphate have to find each other up to 2 minutes. Then after that, we then produce ATP with oxygen. So this can go indefinitely. And the difference is, this is no byproduct. You got no burn, you got no lactate. Again, this is no byproduct, no lactate. And then after here, you get in here, this is when the pyruvate starts to build up, the lactate starts to build up. You're starting to feel the burn. So the burn is occurring in this window here. Then after the 2-minute mark, your intensity will drop, oxygen will come in, and you can then go for however long. And then you can always go back into here. So for example, we're training with this without the byproduct here. We're cruising along after 10 minutes, and all of a sudden I'm going to sprint again. Bang, we're in here and we're ready to go, and we can do it again, do another 10 seconds. And then this is when you do interval training, because you're going hard here, and then you're taking a break, and then you're going hard again, then you're taking a break. All the time you're using different substrates. Here we're using carbohydrates. Here we could be using fat, carbs, lactate. This is called the Krebs cycle. So this is kind of like a washing machine. We get a lot of energy in this one here with one spin of that citric acid cycle. So simplified now, ATP, the first 3 seconds, you'll find that you are the strongest. If you're taking a creatine supplement, up to 10 seconds, you'll find that you're still pretty strong. After 10 seconds, that's when you need to start rebuilding the C and P, and that's dependent on carbohydrates, how much carbs you have in your body. And remember, on a keto diet, that's going to happen. There's a lot less carbs. So people on a keto diet will really struggle in this window here, unless they're producing carbohydrates via the use of protein and glyconeogenesis. But simply put, for the average person, your first 10 seconds is your most explosive, most productive. After that, your 2 minute, up to 2 minutes is anaerobic. So here to here is without oxygen. And from there on, it's with oxygen. So we're going to be discussing each of these particular energy systems in the next video. But for now, all I wanted you to understand was ATP. And if I want to come up with a very clever analogy, this is the one that I used to use when I was a teacher. Maybe this can help you learn the story. I'm going to use some different colors as well. So we have our Adonis. He is A for Adonis. And he is hanging out with 3 girls. So these 3 girls are his babes. And what happens is they're fighting over him because everyone wants to be with the Adonis. So this P and this P, these two girls fighting over him, and as a result, they see two bouncers called energy and heat. They zoom in and take that P away because that's what bouncers do. So now we have our Adonis with two girls, and the third girl, she's taken away by the bouncers. So they take her away and they pretty much dissipate immediately. So now the result is he's standing there with two girls, and this girl is all by herself. So a girl all by itself in a nightclub, you know what happens next? Some creepy creatine cretin comes over and says, "Hey, how you doing? Would you like to hook up?" So he's over here with two girls. She's all by herself, and this creatine is attracted to her. And she's saying, "Actually, I'm hanging out with those guys over there. I'm going to go over there." So she goes back over here. Now she's hanging out with here, and our creepy creatine, he is now part of the group. So we have our Adonis with the three girls and a creepy creatine guy hanging on, and he's not having a bar of it. He's going, hey, you get the hell out of here. I don't want anything to do with you. So as a result, the creatine feels unwelcome. He goes over here. He's out of the group. So now we have our ATP back together, and our creepy creatine, he's floating around. You know what he's looking for? He's looking for the next P to hang out, to slip a roofie and see what he can do with it. Just joking. But ATP, it's that simple. It's three Ps. One P is cleaved away. It's only rebuilt by creatine coming back over in the initial 10-second phase. After that, we can rebuild ATP using carbohydrates, and we're going to discuss that in the next video. So I hope this was a little bit fun and educational. I know these science lectures can be a bit difficult to understand. Hopefully this is going to be useful and it was slightly entertaining. So remember, ATP is the only energy source that we use. How we build it, that's going to be discussed in the next few videos. But thank you.